Okay, for some reason this didn't record on the end of that other recording. Last problem for this particular unit, type of word problem. Wally looks up at a bird, top of a tree. Bird is 50 feet above the ground. Wally is 70 feet from the base of the tree. Wally's eyes are 5 feet above the ground. What is the angle of elevation of his line of sight? So this is basically just Wally and a tree with a bird up in the tree. Okay. So you say, all right, Wally's eyes are 5 feet above the ground. The bird is 50 feet above the ground. Therefore, that distance right there is going to be 45. And Wally is 70 feet away from the base of the tree. So the question is, what is the measure of his angle of elevation, or the angle of elevation of his line of sight? So the angle of elevation is going to be this guy down here. So that's going to be the angle of elevation of his line of sight. So when we look at the problem, we're going to say, oh yeah, if this is my angle right here, that's the opposite side. That's the adjacent, which sounds like tangent. So I would say the tangent of my angle of elevation is 45 over 70. And like I said earlier, we don't have to reduce that. The calculator will reduce that for us. So to get rid of that tangent, I've got to do inverse tan. So I have to do inverse tan to both sides. And I'm writing more steps than you need to. So E is equal to inverse tan 45 over 70. I'm just going to punch that into the calculator just the way it's written, so that angle E turns out to be 32.735 degrees. The end. Okay. If we had asked for something like the angle of depression of the bird's line of sight, it would actually be the same thing, because the angle, well, assuming the bird's you're meeting in the same place, but so the angle of depression of the bird's line of sight would be the same thing. All right, one last thing that is on the, if you look, when you're doing the homework problems, there's at least one spot where it's got notation that looks something like this. It's got something like 18 degrees, 15 minutes, 30 seconds. There's one problem where it's got notation like this, where it's got the degrees, then one tick mark, two. This is what we call degree minute second notation, DMS. The degree minute second notation is what they used to use back before they had calculators and used decimals for everything. So there's at least one problem that has this in the problem. Just ignore that. So you can see on my answer key, I just threw that out. So just ignore that. When you see that in problems, we're not going to cover that. All right, and that takes care of it. And I'll talk a little bit. I'll make some review stuff at some point.